Hi, I'm Deborah James, author and presenter of podcast You, Me and the Big C.
And it's lovely to talk to you this morning, Deborah, otherwise known, of course, as Bowel Babe. I suppose we should sort of tackle that first. Where did the nickname come from, for those that don't know?
I was going to say, there is a reason for that. So a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed at the age of 35 with stage 4 bowel cancer. And I was very much blindsided by this. I was a deputy head teacher in a secondary school, ploughing through life. And suddenly I had this diagnosis. I was fit, young, active, and didn't tick any boxes for bowel cancer. And yet I'm sitting here with it. Yes, still undergoing treatment, and campaigning about getting people to check their poo, if I can use that word, because let's be blunt, people are not checking their poo. And actually, it's very important that we do so. So I know that that's not what we're here to talk about this morning. The opportunity to put it in there, then brilliant.
And this has come about because we're talking to you this morning because there's been some research that's been done, and it's talking about regrets in a way, but that sounds quite negative because actually what we're talking about is a bit of a sort of mission to motivate people, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope so. So a survey that has been commissioned by Remember a Charity to ask Brits, what are their biggest regrets in life? But not in terms of negativity, in terms of hopefully giving us a bit of a wake-up call to changing what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. And I certainly had that wake-up call when I was diagnosed with cancer. So do you want to know what some of them are?
Yeah, go on, I'm intrigued.
Okay, so the biggest, most common regret is not travelling enough, which I think is quite interesting. Nearly 20%, so 19% of people said that was their biggest regret in life. And then the others kind of almost group together. Well, number 2 is not taking better care of our health. And then you've got things such as spending too much time at work and too little time at home.
When you were first concerned that there might be something wrong, you actually sort of went on a bit of a mission yourself, didn't you? And you went skiing and stuff, and you kind of, I'm going to cram all these things in just in case something's wrong. But it does make you wonder why we wait until that time to actually do these things.
I think we're in denial, actually. I think we kind of always assume that we have tomorrow. And it's the hardest thing to admit that maybe we don't. And it's only when we're forced to stare at it and see it in black and white that we suddenly realise actually we're not invincible. And I think, I don't mean to sound morbid on a lovely, morning. I think it's that's the reality of life, isn't it? And none of us know when our time is up.
Well, exactly. And to be fair, it might be something that feels considerably less morbid if we did talk about it more and made it more of a sort of normality, I guess, wouldn't it? Which is one of the things that I think with the podcast you guys absolutely do. And that's so important, isn't it, is to reach out to people and first of all let them know that there are other people going through this, but to give add that sort of element of sort of humour to it in a way that you guys do with the way that you discuss it, and let other people know that they're not alone.
Yeah, it's about demystifying it, isn't it? And the more that we can talk about those taboos, the less scary they become. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still petrified of death. Even saying that word still sends shivers down my spine. But the reality is that even in the darkest of times, there can be humour. And that goes very much when we talk about our kind of wills. But actually, if you just kind of talk about it, for me, it actually gives me a little bit of hope. It gives me a little bit of hope that maybe we are doing our own little thing to pave the way for future generations, whether that's leaving a little bit of money, campaigning, whatever it might be. I'm sure we've all been touched by charities or causes that we feel passionate about, and we want to support them moving forward. So let me give you an example. I do some work with Cancer Research UK, and I didn't realise until really recently that about a third of their budget is actually made up of kind of gifts in a will, which is incredible. And when you think what's actually done with that money, so over the last 40 years, cancer survival rates have doubled. So more people are now living with cancer than dying from cancer. So when I was born, the average life expectancy was about a year if you were diagnosed with any form of cancer. And now more people will live for 10 years after they've been told you have cancer, which I take a lot of kind of hope from. And what I would like to see is, in my lifetime, for my children who are 9 and 11, for them to then go on, in their lifetime, and hopefully not have to see friends, relatives, family members, whatever it might be, die from things like cancer. So it is about choosing something that you're passionate about. It could be anything from animals to kind of boats to museums. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be health things. So, it's finding something that you want to preserve for future generations.
And as you said, then sort of leaving that legacy, and that feels like there's a bit of you carrying on, which is a lovely thing to sort of consider in those times, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think people want to be remembered as charitable and giving, and that's about 1 in 3 of us, but only 1 in 10 of us actually then do something about it. You know what? It's not about leaving your whole will or anything like that to a charity. It's about kind of thinking about your family first, and then thinking about, right, what can I do? What foundations can I lay for a future for them?
And I have to say, you guys, and obviously with Rachel as well, who clearly made such an incredible impact too, are also doing that yourselves with the podcast. I have to say, it's wonderful what you're all doing, and you are making a big impact in that respect. So just let people know again where they can find the podcast. Yeah,
so the podcast is called You, Me and the Big C. It's available to download on Radio 5 Live or across your usual podcast provider. And it's about cancer, but I guarantee you there is a lot of laughs along the way. And sadly, Rachel died nearly a year ago. I can't believe I'm saying
already.
that.
Wow.
That's the first time I've said that actually on an interview. I was just thinking, it's coming up to her anniversary in the beginning of September, and it's amazing to kind of think now in terms of stuff that she would have said at this time last year about just wanting more time. And at this time last year, she was writing a book for her son Freddie about leaving a legacy, and how she wanted to be remembered. So I think it's quite apt actually that we're talking about it today.